In my last video, I mentioned that I was considering doing the Terraria minimum achievement run again, but this time incorporating glitches. The general response to this was quite positive, so here I am fulfilling my role as a purveyor of content. For the explanations on this, I will be keeping it relatively brief, mostly going into detail of how glitches actually affect the 11 achievements I unlocked in my initial video, which I do recommend you watch, by the way. To get everyone up to speed, here are the 11 achievements that I could not skip in my initial run. I have also had many great suggestions of how it may be possible to pare this down even further in a glitchless environment, and about a million comments telling me that I should have just burned the doll in the lava without picking it up. After deleting my local achievement history, I booted up Terraria and created my world. I immediately jump to the left and head towards a nearby sky island. This is where I loot a lucky horseshoe to make me immune to fall damage. By utilizing glitches, this run will be drastically shorter than my glitchless run, but without the horseshoe, jumping off any large ledge puts me at risk of earning the lucky break achievement, so this is a good place to start. From there, I head to the local desert and begin to dig a massive hole. This is because the desert holds a vital object for destroying my previous achievement total, a bast statue. I carefully dig through the walls, avoiding all the enemies, and loot my prize. Statue in hand, I teleport to the ocean, and here is where my strategy takes a major departure from my previous run. Seeing that the sun has set, I save and exit my world. You might wonder why, so let me explain. One of the achievements that I earned during my initial run was "You Can Do It" for surviving a night. I had some great suggestions on ways to avoid this, like running my world on a server, or leaving just before the night ended and simply restarting the world before dawn, and speedrunning back up to the same point. Unfortunately, I still do believe that this is impossible glitchless, as servers hibernate when no one is actively playing them, preventing the first suggestion from working, and the second one would require you to beat the 3 mechs, Plantera, Golem, and the Moonlord in one night with a suboptimal loadout. If anyone thinks they can prove me wrong, please do so. I would love to see the final glitchless achievement count go down. Anyway, tangent over. I create and enter my second world and begin gearing up for the glitchy magic, because unfortunately I need more than just a bar statue. I need a whole slew of random items in order to achieve my goals. As such, I dig in search of 2 elusive goodies, a campfire and a crafting table, which I can't simply make as the benched and timber achievement continue to make things harder than they need to be. During this dig, I also found that blowing blocks up with bombs does not actually count for the bulldozer achievement, despite the fact that it asks for me to destroy blocks. This doesn't actually come into play in this run, but it does mean that in a glitchless run, you have much more leeway with how many blocks you can break. So long as you don't blow up any ore, that is. Honestly, it seems like the wording used in Terraria's achievement tooltips is completely arbitrary. Destroy doesn't count bombs, but it does count mining with a pickaxe. Now, with campfire and workbench in hand, I save and exit and create a third world. In this third world, I teleport immediately to the West Ocean and dig down to find another mandatory ingredient for my future shenanigans: granite. On the way there though, I quickly pause to make a trapdoor using wood from a chest found underground. I then dig up enough granite to craft into 3 granite doors, save and exit. Entering World 4, I am now ready to begin absolutely ruining the intended progression path. I dig down to find the final requirement, this active trap. I needed a naturally spawned wire and a means to activate it, in this case a pressure plate. I carefully dismantle the structure around this trap, ensuring I don't pick up any wood. I then save and exit the world, but in defiance of established convention, I do not make a new world. I did this simply to despawn the wood, so I didn't accidentally ruin my run. I re-enter the world and begin setting up for the glitch I will be using, transmutation. But before I get into the explanation, which I will endeavor to not absolutely screw up, I would like to recommend that you watch these videos posted by Yuri and Icy Snowman, which document this glitch and its applications. Yuri was the person to discover and detail the series of glitches required to perform transmutation, and Icy Snowman created a spreadsheet documenting which items can be obtained and how. Everything is linked in the description below. I start by placing some clouds so that I can place down my pressure plate to give me an indication of the height of the natural wire. I then make this 4x3 shape, leaving a 2x2 hole, and then place 1 dirt block and 2 more cloud blocks on the left hand side of my structure. Finally, I place my bar statue on a platform I have created, ensuring that the statue is facing to the right and is 1 block lower than the clouds on the left. Once this is in place, I rest 1 block of sand on top of the left-hand side of the statue, and then place my trapdoor between these 2 blocks. From here, I place 2 more sand blocks on top of the trapdoor before destroying the statue, making sure to break the right-hand side specifically. Here is where I realized I screwed up, as the structure did not behave as intended. So I reset the structure, exited the world, and re-entered. This time, critically, I opened the world as a server, as the initial setup for this glitch does not work in a single player world. Back in the hole, I broke the right-hand side of the bar statue, causing the sand suspended over top of the statue to fall and the trapdoor to disappear. Note that it hasn't actually been broken, as I haven't picked it up. What I have done has caused the tile to become desynchronized. What I am seeing on the client side is not what the server is seeing. I then place the bar statue on top of the floating sand, before causing the game to update the sand tiles with a torch. This causes the server to recognize that the trapdoor is in a wonky state, breaking it and giving it to me, while simultaneously causing the bar statue to disappear. I then perform a prong glitch, which allows for only portions of a furniture item to be placed in-game, by placing a stone block to the right of the dirt block. This causes the game to give me the bar statue, but unseen to us, leaves 1 section of the statue behind to still be interacted with. I test that the statue still exists on the server by activating my pressure plate. Essentially, if this rock explosion particle effect did not show every time that I stood on the pressure plate, I would know that the setup had failed. So what we have here now is a completed setup for the Philosopher's Stone, or the transmutation glitch. Ensuring that the bar statue is deactivated, where the sprite becomes dull, I place a campfire underneath the bar statue and turn it on. Now, this is where the game gets a little wacky. As far as the game is concerned, a bar statue is an object that fills up a 2x3 area, but mine currently exists as a single tile. This means that by placing a campfire in such a way that it overlaps the space that the game thinks the bar statue exists in, we can cause the campfire to enter a glitch state. This is called Campfire Glitch Offset. Now, what this nifty little glitch does is it allows me to cause the sprite of a furniture block to move up its sprite sheet, which essentially allows me to turn this granite door, which exists towards the bottom of the door sprite sheet, into any door above it, simply by clicking on the top right portion of the campfire. For example, here I have turned the granite door into a pumpkin door, and here I turn it into a living wood door. Now, at the moment, this has achieved essentially nothing. Like, how does a pumpkin door actually help me? Well, by dismantling the campfire quickly, I can set up for something called door transmutation, a trick with which I can turn this pumpkin door into a platinum watch with just a single jump. Or this living wood door into a stardust drill with 155 jumps. Do you see how strong this glitch is? Also, I do promise that I will try and explain how this glitch works shortly. With my ability to now tell the time, I quickly set up the campfire again. I have determined the best items to transmute, and now I need the correct starting materials. With my granite door base, I shift the sprite until my locked door is simultaneously a granite door, a shadewood door, and most importantly, a locked lizard door. The special thing about this door is that it is indestructible unless it is unlocked with a temple key. But if the blocks that it is attached to are broken, it will cause the door to remain intact while still giving you a copy. So by putting the door in this state and attempting to mine the door specifically targeting the locked door tile, this happens. Suddenly, I have all the doors I could ever need. Now, all I need to do is to turn all of these granite doors into more useful ones. After a while, however, I notice the time. Night is almost over, and I still do not wish to see the sun rise. So I quickly disassemble my magic machine and finally start a new world. Speedily digging my way down to the same location I was before, I set up the Philosopher's Stone. Now, it's probably about time that I attempt to explain how the mechanics of this glitch actually work, which you will note I have been putting off since I don't know how to start. Essentially, the main ingredient of this glitch, the bar statue, has two states, on and off. It also has left and right, but those don't really matter. When the bar statue is toggled between these two states, the game shifts the 2x3 area that makes up the statue along the bar statue sprite sheet. moving it 72 pixels or 4 tiles to the left or to the right, depending on whether it is shifting from on to off or off to on. Now, when we have our wonky overlap, like with the campfire earlier, the game will assume that anything within the 2x3 area is the bar statue, and will move it 4 tiles accordingly. So, by opening the door and making sure that it intersects with the bar statue, we can turn the bar statue off. Now suddenly, that slime door is an iron anvil. So we close the iron anvil door, reset the bar statue, and repeat. By repeating this process over and over again, we are able to constantly shift the door further and further off its sheet. This 4-tile movement translates to incrementing the item ID by 36. Eventually, my slime door becomes a lizard altar. Utilizing this method, I am able to acquire a large variety of items, so long as they have an item ID greater than the doors. From potions, to the grand design, to a lizard power cell, which incidentally triggers my first achievement, like a boss. Simply moving to a new world whenever I run out of time. After spending about 30 minutes playing with doors and creating World 7, I begin to set up for a different version of the transmutation glitch, the campfire glitch offset torch method. This glitch allows you to move a torch up or down its sprite sheet by 32 pixels, similar to what we were doing with the doors before. Crucially, however, while doors cannot move off their sprite sheets vertically, torches can. Are you keeping up with me? Because this is where the explanation gets a little more convoluted. Previously, I used this method to shift the door sprites located in this 1x2 area up the sprite sheet, but there are actually more tiles that are affected, specifically these 4 tiles here. These tiles also move up or down when the campfire is clicked, but have the additional feature of copying whatever movement is being applied to the object in the top left tile. So by using a door in the left tiles, we are able to push the torches up and off their sprite sheet, making sure to replace the door whenever it reaches the top of its sprite sheet. This allows us to transmute a single torch into almost any item with a lower ID value. I say almost because the torches have a different sprite size, which means that they actually move up approximately 1.6 tiles each time and skip an item every few steps, but you can acquire the other items by using a different starting torch. Using this method, I convert several torches into potions that I will need for the Moonlord fight, a guide voodoo doll for the wall of flesh, and 15 life crystals, so that I can get 400 HP. Now, just like in my previous run, this game does not track life crystals entering your inventory, only the act of breaking the crystal. So this does not trigger the Heartbreaker achievement. Now for my final act of magic, you may have noticed that using the campfire glitch offset, I have only been transmuting things by moving them up their sprite sheet thus far. There is, however, a method for continuously moving a torch down its sprite sheet to acquire items with a greater item ID, allowing you to technically transmute a torch into any item in the game. The only problem is that this method is much more time consuming. By placing an item that is already at the top of its sprite sheet, such as a wooden door, or in this case a torch, in the top left transmutation tile, and then clicking on the campfire, this will cause the item to move down its sprite sheet, which the other tiles will imitate. Then, by replacing the top left torch and repeating this action, the other torches will again move down the sprite sheet. The only limit for this method is how many torches it requires. I use this method to acquire the mechanical boss summoning items. After the couple hours that I have spent figuring out my transmutation, I finally create my 9th and final world, still with only 1 earned achievement. I then load into this world as a server, specifically a server opened using the Terraria server.exe file, found when browsing the local files stored from Steam. This is important, trust me. My first target is the wall of flesh, to enter hard mode, so I use the Rod of Discord to quickly descend through the various caves towards hell, making sure to disable any traps I come across, and also making sure that I do not actually enter hell, which would trigger the It's Getting Hot in Here achievement. Using some scarab bombs, I blow a hole into hell that I know terminates in a lava pool. I then summon a lunar portal sentry within hell, using the lunar portal staff. This is the key portion of this strategy, as it does not despawn if I move too far away, and from my testing also kills the wall of flesh about 90% of the time. Then, with Voodoo Doll and Magic Mirror in hand, I quickly toss the doll and teleport immediately to the overworld. The timing on this is super important, as if I wait until the wall has spawned, I will immediately die upon arriving at the overworld, and would need to reset the world as the guide cannot respawn. On the surface, I need to keenly focus on the health bar of the wall of flesh, So eyes peeled, I watched the HP bar rapidly tick down until suddenly... So, what happened? Well, as you can see, I was kicked from the server just moments before the wall of flesh died. I achieved this by inputting a command in the server command window and hitting enter just before the wall of flesh actually died. So what does this mean? Well, it means that I earned the achievement for killing the wall, but, and this is critical, did not achieve the It's Hard achievement, despite the fact that the world is in hard mode, as you can see here by the fact that the Hello has spawned in. In my testing, this is the only way to get into hard mode without triggering the It's Hard achievement. If you left a single player world during this brief window, the game would actually force you to stay as a part of the world while it generated hard mode, before giving you the achievement and then unceremoniously kicking you to the title menu. Hey everyone, as a post note, I actually retested this after completing the run, and it turns out that you can just host a world through the normal Steam servers and quit the world manually. This still skips the It's Hard achievement and does not require to use an external feature of Terraria. The timing just seems a little bit tighter. So moving on, I set a checkpoint in the run to preserve the game post Wall of Flesh, figuring that doing the entire multi-hour transmutation nightmare over and over just wouldn't be fun. From here, I rush straight to the underground jungle. I have 6 minutes until the mechanical bosses can be summoned, and I am going to be productive. This is because the largest RNG component of this entire ordeal is Plantera, or more specifically Plantera's bulbs. These have a chance to spawn on any 2-wide section of jungle grass block in the underground jungle when the final mechanical boss has been beaten. One spawns immediately, and future ones take approximately 12 minutes to spawn from there. This means that I need to find the one Plantera bulb in the underground jungle, break it, and still have enough time for Golem and the Moonlord. For reference, this is how large my underground jungle is, and conversely, how small a bulb is. One saving grace for this hunt is that the bulbs actually appear on the in-game map. Not only that, they are automatically updated in sections of the map you have already explored. This means that if I spend my 6 minutes frantically dashing through the jungle swinging my Star Wrath to reveal as much of the map as possible, I have a greater chance of having the bulb generate in a place I can see immediately. Oh wow, would you look at the time? It's 7:30. I now only have 9 minutes until the night ends and the game informs me that I can do it. With not a moment to waste, I summon the Destroyer and the Twins immediately. With the fact that my gear is absurdly overpowered for this point of the run, the Destroyer quickly falls. Once this has happened, I summon Skeletron Prime. You might wonder why I didn't just summon all three at once. I mean, surely it's faster. Well, yes, it would be, but there is also an achievement for having all three mechanical bosses alive simultaneously and still winning the fight. So I take my mandatory time loss, but preserve my 2 current achievements. For about 15 seconds. I handily finish off the Twins, and Skeletron cannot do anything but follow suit. This unlocks my 3rd achievement, Bucket of Bolts. Now comes the portion of the run that causes the most reversions to my post-Wall of Flesh checkpoint. Like I said before, Plantera bulbs can spawn anywhere in the underground jungle, and if it doesn't happen to spawn in a place I've already explored, well, I'm out of luck. Especially since after the mech fight, I only have 8 minutes left. This time, however, Lady Luck has smiled upon me. Or my repeated rolling of a 1000-sided dice has finally decided to spawn the bulb almost right next to where I am. So I quickly teleport my way over and break the bulb to spawn in Plantera. Plantera really does not pose a threat to me. The only problem is that she moves just so dang slow, taking almost an entire 20 seconds to actually get within smiting range. But once she does draw close, it is just a short fight to reduce her to a pile of pulp. Now, while I am right next to the jungle temple, there is no need for me to actually go inside. Instead, I teleport to spawn and place down my magically generated lizard altar. This allows me to summon Golem above ground in its enraged form. But being angry does not equate to being strong, so after luring it off to one side, I dismantle the Golem, leaving me with 5 achievements and only 1 fight left. Now hang on a minute. Looking back at my last video, I killed Skeletron and the Lunatic Cultist, and here I am saying that both of these are skippable? Well, yes and no. In a glitchless run, Skeletron needs to be killed in order to spawn the Lunatic Cultist. And the lunatic cultist needs to be killed so that you can spawn the pillars, so that you can actually fight the Moon Lord. But the only actual prerequisite to summoning the Moon Lord is that Golem has been defeated. So, by glitching in my sigil, I can avoid 2 boss fights, and more importantly, 2 achievements. At this point, I have just under 6.5 minutes until the night ends, the absolute deadline for this run. But rather than just using a potion and immediately summoning the Moon Lord, I sit near my campfires and wait for my HP to regenerate passively. I mean, the fight will end in less than 6 minutes, with either the Moon Lord or myself dying. So this wait just means that I don't have an inopportune potion cooldown active if things go awry. With full HP and various campfires and bar statues scattered around, I summon the Moon Lord using the Celestial Sigil, and finally buff up with all the potions I willed into existence earlier. This fight with the Moon Lord is not quite as easy as the glitchless version, funnily enough. With time as my major constraining factor, I elected not to build an arena. This meant that the Moon Lord was constantly looming overhead and absolutely laying into me with its various flavors of lasers. I began by targeting down the eye in the Moon Lord's forehead, as removing the eye actually prevents him from using his phantasmal death ray, but make sure to target any other eyes when the forehead eye is closed. I used my first potion 30 seconds in, and now I need to survive for 60 seconds without another. I dodge another death ray before finally removing the eyeball from the Moon Lord's skull. I no longer have to think about the death ray, but now I have an invincible floating eye harassing me in addition to the Moon Lord himself. Eventually, I knock the eye out of the Moon Lord's right hand, and have the left on the verge of escaping too. Sitting at just over 50% and having 4 minutes left until morning, with my potions still on cooldown, I dash over to the pile of hearts left behind by Golem, getting a major boost to my current HP. In my testing, I often died moments before dealing the decisive blow to the Moon Lord's core, and this was just the easiest way I could think of to be able to heal on the fly. Now it is just the core left. Due to fighting the Moon Lord on the ground, the core would often be positioned underground, out of the reach of my Star Wrath, so I needed to constantly jump to encourage the Moon Lord to rise and follow me. This is actually the reason I opted to keep the horseshoe equipped instead of the destroyer emblem, as during one of my attempts I was jumping to gain access to the core and then took 1 point of fall damage while at low HP to earn the Lucky Break achievement. I continued running, jumping and swinging until eventually the Moon Lord fell. Judging by my HP, I definitely only survived due to leaving the Golem's hearts on the ground. Finally, at 1:06 AM, I earned my final achievement, Champion of Terraria. So let's recap the final achievement list. Still hungry for beating the Wall of Flesh, like a boss for holding a boss summoning item, Bucket of Bolts for killing the mechs, the Great Southern Plant Kill for killing Plantera, Lizardian Idol for beating Golem, and the Champion of Terraria for beating the Moon Lord, bringing my total from 11 down to 6. To my knowledge, this is truly the absolute minimum number of achievements required to beat the game, but only if you use some less than standard methods. Once again, let me know what you thought of this down in the comments. I think this went pretty well, considering I only thought I would be able to get this down to 9 going in. I believe that some of these strategies can be replicated in a glitchless world, although certain actions, such as exiting after killing the wall, might require some incredible timing. Thus, I think you might, at a stretch, get the glitchless version of this run down to 9 achievements, skipping entering hell and triggering it's hard. But that is a challenge for someone else to complete. I do have more challenges in store, though not necessarily in Terraria at the moment. Also, please let me know on a scale of 1 to 10 how badly I explained the glitches. This was much more complicated than I had anticipated. But anyway, I will see you next time.